Good afternoon. It's me, Larry, and I'm coming to you live from Stevie's room. Today's discussion is on feline kidney disease. Let me first preface this that there are two types of kidney disease, and I'm going to focus primarily on the latter. The first is acute kidney disease, which means that a cat is brought in bad shape to a veterinarian's office. Usually it's an outdoor cat, or gets into something indoors that's toxic in the house, and it might be poisoned. It might be. I had one that was outside that I trapped. That it looked like it had been trapped in a space for several days with no food or water before it got out, and was in shock. Those will, when they do blood work to see what's wrong with the cat, they're going to see kidney values that are way out of line. That is repairable. They can stabilize in most cases, not poison, but like in the case of the cat, that's Bobby. You'll see in your if the Bobby in the video in my early shorts where he was emaciated and in shock in the trap, just sitting there kind of stoic. Um, his kidney values were way off. That is an acute event. That is, if the cat is poisoned, it depends how much poison, it depends. Uh, Quite often they do die. And I'm not going to mention the types of poisons that are used. I don't want to, obviously, this is open to the public. And for the benefit of cats, I'm going to simply say that there are some bad people out there. And when I pick them up, it's usually a bad situation. The second type, which is more pertinent to the people that are watching my site, is chronic kidney disease. It is a long staged event and it doesn't seem to get as much attention as it should. And there are some veterinarians that are not really up on it as much as they should be. And basically, the kidneys are in a state of deterioration and it can take years from the initial where it's nearly the symptoms are not there are no symptoms. Sometimes the cat may go in for a routine blood work and they flag some marker that is off. Usually it's the creatine. They look for the creatine marker, which is between zero point 0.8 and 2.4. And for instance, I had one cat that went in with a 2.7. It was slightly off. There were no other symptoms. The cat went in for something completely different, like a dental issue or a mild surgery, and they just did a routine blood panel, and this pulled up. And they said, why don't you change the diet? Just so you know, if they ask you to change the diet, let's say you catch it in this really early stage where there's no symptoms, they'll want to send you home with veterinary cat food. Cats that have kidney disease usually get nauseous, and before you buy a whole case of it, try a few cans because they may not like it. And before you get stuck with a case, if I had $1 for every case of cat food that I was given that the cats didn't like, oh, I would be a very wealthy man from it all. So my suggestion is try it first if you flag it early. This, however, graduates from that stage to second and third stage where they start unexplained weight loss, increased thirst, lethargy, and it's a gradual deterioration process. And you start watching the kidney values. You bring the cat to the veterinarian's office, and now you're really going to be in the hands of the vet. Some vets will, uh, you know, jump right to the gate and say euthanasia. Don't necessarily do that. It might be, but it might not be. So you really might want to get a second opinion if you bring in your cat that all of a sudden is showing some symptoms and it doesn't seem that bad. Because there are some things that you can do to make your cat comfortable. Now, I'm going to touch upon some of them, but I'm also going to link you to a website and explain a little bit about the website. First, let me discuss a few things. The cat can be made comfortable with things like sub-Q fluids, where you'll learn how to administer fluids to the cat maybe once a day. The doctor will go over with you how much. I'm saying if you really pick a veterinarian who's really up on this, there may come a point in the later stages where it's not the end, but the cat is really in some needs some help, and it might require a hospitalization. And they may come in with a kidney value that's extremely high, and they will bring it down. And what I found with some of the cats that have had it, um, 2.4 is the normal, high normal. They'll get it from, let's say, an 8 or a 9 all the way down to a 5, but they get to the point where they can't get it better than a 5. But the cat is more comfortable, is home, goes for a couple of more months without having any problems. Just because it's off doesn't mean that it's the end, and it doesn't mean that the cat is in misery all the time. And this is something you'll decide even with your own cat. I'm speaking to you as a pet owner, somebody who is, I don't like to use the word owner, pet companion. You're a companion of the pet. Sometimes that phrase, that term, I don't particularly like. You are trying to be a helpful assistant and advocate to your pet, and that is really what you're going to do. Now, I'm going to link you to a page that I found extremely helpful. There was a woman named Helen, um, back in 2000. That's how long ago she started this. She had 3 cats with chronic kidney disease, and she decided to create a resource page of which she collected all kinds of information that is phenomenal. It takes you step by step, and she is a wonderful guide, I think, to go in combination with your veterinarian so that you have some insight when you walk into the veterinarian and some questions. And it may mean getting another veterinarian if you see a real discrepancy, because she has updated that page, and she didn't even know I exist, but I know I've read her page, and I did it with my first cat that had this, and I found it most helpful. And so I'm going to leave it there with as a resource guide, and you can read other resource guides, but hers I found was coming from the perspective as a person who has this, what to expect, what you're going to expect, similar to what I'm doing here, except she really honed in on this issue. And yes, kidney disease is fatal. Chronic kidney disease is fatal. And unlike other illnesses, the end will most likely be doctor assisted, which means that, when they get to that last stage, like where they're laying on their side, of course, you don't have to put it down, but then what's going to happen is they're going to start having seizures, and it really is an end of suffering. It's you're sparing it those last few hours, maybe 12 hours of just complete awful before it dies. So it's not one of those things where, like with cancer, where it may crawl up next to another cat and die in your home, or a sudden death like a heart attack, or stroke, which there are some instances where there's a sudden death. But with this, this is going to be doctor assisted most likely, and it's a fight. Every cat is different with how long it takes from the first stage 1 to stage, but it can be years. My first cat that had it, it was years. It was several years. Like I would say about 4 or 5 years, before she had that very early marker, and then eventually the end. I would say about 2015, and she died in 2020. And during that time, and then that 2019 period became where she had to be hospitalized. She became more familiar with the hospital and the doctors and us giving her sub-Q fluids, and she was so well behaved. It was such a, I mean, I don't post videos of the cats that I've lost. I find it hard to even watch them sometimes. And she's one of several. I mean, kidney disease does not get as much attention as it should. And I think that I hope my video and this resource guide that I've put as a link in my description will help you if you are facing this with your pet. Good luck. Be safe. Thanks for listening.